Already, good evening, everyone. It's a blessing to be here with each and every one of you. Let's just make sure I'm on the screen first to greet you. Let us know where you are watching from. If you're on here, just put a little chat message here so that we can see and know that you are with us and you can hear us clearly. That's just our preliminary test so we can make sure that we are hearing you and seeing you well. Okay. Doc, do you have the presentation on your screen there?
It's not showing yet.
Okay. The PowerPoint, I
So
mean.
should I click the slides?
Not as yet, no.
Not yet.
Okay, so Melissa says yes. Okay, good. You can hear us and see us. Gonzalo, Teresa. Oh, you guys are on the road. Okay, so thanks for joining in and tuning in with us. Already. Let's see who else we have on here. Give us a shout out if you are on. We have Melissa, Donna, Raul, Philip, Patty, Martha, Muriel, Robert. Good evening to all of you. Already. So once you guys can see us, wonderful. We're going to get with it. Greetings, Robert. Alrighty, so I hope you don't mind. We always do our preliminaries just for the benefit of if anyone might be new on, because each evening you never know, we might have new people on. So again, my name is Chance, U.S. Navy veteran, #1 bestselling author, implementation strategist. I'm also a minister, and I am the host of this 5 weeks wellness workshop where we are talking about mental and emotional health. We bring on different experts so that we can share with our audience how we can not only get well, but stay well, especially during these trying times. Right on the right-hand side of your computer, if you are on a laptop, is a chat section where you can do your chat. For those of you who are on your mobile device, your cell phone, your iPad, or anything like that, right below this video is where you will find the chat. If by chance we have some internet disruption, or you see the image that is frozen on your screen, you can either do one of two things. Number one, if you are on a computer or laptop, on the top left hand corner, there's an icon that's like a circle. That's called refresh, right? You click on refresh. So wherever that is on your computer screen on the very top, you want to click that. If you're on a mobile device, right above this video is also a button that says reconnect. You click on that and you should be good to go. So that's all the instructions that we have. Let me bring up our PowerPoint slides now. And again, by chance, if you are here and you want us to give you a shout out, please introduce yourself. Philip says good evening. Martha says good evening, everyone. Robert says nice to see you all. Good. So there we go. Interact with each other. I'm going to rephrase the outline of the presentation. I have it on a slide, so I'm just going to work with that. And of course, I'm going to introduce our speaker and presenter for this evening. All right, again, so you should know me by now as the host, so we wouldn't spend much time on that. We are also knowing, I want you to be aware, again, for those of you who may have found the link or just were invited tonight, that this is a technical presentation. It's an academic in nature presentation, but nonetheless, we're going to have an interview where we can break it down and also make it practical and simple for all of us. So we are here also for the benefit of students of the University of Southern Indiana, those who are in the nursing or nurse practitioner program. This is for them, but it's for all of us too, because we are all learning. So that's why we are doing this mental health program and emotional wellness as well. So you've seen a few of our presenters before. This is our third presentation. So we have already had Dr. Robert Lewis, last presentation on Monday night. We had Dr. Donna Cooper speaking on stress and how to manage stress in difficult times. Tonight, we're going to be hearing from Dr. Jerry Tamayo. Then on next Monday, our speaker will be Dr. Shirley Barbosa. She will be talking about disaster and trauma. Then we're also going to be having Dr. Judith Fisher She will be speaking to us more along the lines of depression. And then we have David Chung, who is also a licensed professional counselor. He will also be with us in future presentation. Actually, he's on the 23rd, and then Judith will be after him. Okay, and then we'll of course have a few more presentations after this week. Then we will update the pictures so we can see some of the faces or pictures of the other presenters. But if you go on our landing page where we have this advertised, then you will be able to see the updates there as well. So here is the outline. I'm going to introduce the guest presenter. Then he's going to come on and give us about 45 minutes or so of a lecture or presentation. Again, academic in nature, but it's all good for us to learn as well. Then for about 10 to 15 minutes maximum, I'll be on to interview him, kind of digesting the information that he just presented. Then we open the floor for you to be able to ask question, any question related to this or something that might be a question that he can answer if you think based on his background that you may want to answer. But preferably we want you to keep it to the presentation, the lecture that he gave. And then we'll have our closing remarks, and then we bid you good night until next Monday again. So it gives me pleasure tonight to introduce to you Jerry Tamayo, okay, or Edwin. So he's going to let us know which one is better for him. We normally call him Dr. Jerry Tamayo. But he's a well sought after national and international speaker on health and wellness. He holds a Ph.D. in medical genetics and nutritional biochemistry, as well as a master in biology with emphasis in cellular physiology. He has basic and advanced certifications in food, health, wellness, sports nutrition, health coaching, and leadership certificate in the CHIP program. For 18 years, Dr. Tamay has taught human anatomy and physiology, genetics, and biochemistry in the Philippines. But since 2006, he has been teaching here in the United States in the areas, again, of human anatomy and physiology, nutrition, diet therapy, U.S. healthcare delivery, healthcare communications at South Texas College, where he also is the former chair of their bachelor's program in medical and health services management. Wonderful program, by the way. Dr. Tamay is also the founder and CEO of Health Speaks Wellness Seminars and Salunat, which is saving lives using natural therapeutics. It's a wellness consultancy. And so at the end, of course, you'll be able to hear more on that. But he's also spoken throughout the world, throughout the United States, and also as a lecturer at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, Cooper Wellness Centers, and of course in many faith-based organizations and churches as well. So we thank you, Dr. Tamayo, for being here with us this evening. Thank you for taking your time to share with our students and also all of our listeners tonight. We now turn it over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us for the webinar. This is Dr. Tamayo, as Dr. Chance already mentioned, that I'm going to do a slide presentation first, and then we will be entertaining your questions.
You can control the slides now.
All right, so I'm going to give you a presentation on entitled Bending Without Breaking, Mastering the Science of Resilience. Now, as we know that we have been affected with COVID-19 pandemic, and this has given so much stress to many people these days. But did you know that there are several people, I would say some people, who remain calm even if they are faced with this kind of problems that may be present in our world. So these are people who are called resilient. And they may have physical prowess, as we call them. They may have strong social support. They may have emotional stability, maybe spiritual strength and wisdom. and other inner strength, but most of them could cope and recover as they just simply let the challenge pass in due time. So this can also be our experience. So many of us may be faced with different problems day in and day out, and sometimes there are people who have chronic illness, maybe because of chronic stress. But we don't want that to happen to us because there is a way by which the body could better respond. So we will study more about resiliency. So what are the characteristics of people who are resilient? They face challenging times such as economic crisis, debilitating sickness for some who may be affected with COVID-19. These are some of the crises that come in life. There are some who may experience natural calamities, social unrest, medical emergencies, or even death of a loved one without fear. So these are people who are resilient, that they don't entertain any fear, even if they are faced with any of these challenges that come in life. They may experience short-term distress for a short time, as we call short-term distress, but they rise above these times so that these challenging times will be for them to grow and build strength through the process. So you would see here that resilience is a trait. It can also be a process, or it can be an outcome. So there are other people who have a definition of resilience, a stable trajectory of healthy functioning after a highly adverse event. So that's one way to define resilience. A conscious effort to move forward in an insightful and integrated positive manner as a result of lessons learned from an adverse experience. So I like this because there are lessons learned as we go through these circumstances that may happen in our lives. Another one is the capacity of a dynamic system. I like this. It's a dynamic, it's moving to adapt successfully to disturbances that threaten the viability, the function, and the development of that system. And we mentioned that this is at the same time a process to harness resources in order to sustain our well-being. Now, resilience is one's richness of inner strength and firm ground when confronted with life's difficult tests with uncompromising flexibility. So this is what I derived as a definition that we would consider. It's the richness of inner strength. And as we are grounded firmly, we may have this flexibility, but uncompromising. It is dealing with and bouncing back from the difficulties of life while maintaining optimism through the coping stress. So it means that a person who is resilient is always optimistic. At times he may be frustrated. He may have a point that he may think that he is not able to, but beyond that, he always have that optimism. Now, resilience is also the capacity to cope with stress and adversity with confidence. So the key term there is confidence and unwavering hope beyond. And resilience is not innately endowed at birth. Rather, it is learned and developed through time, through optimism, through social support, and consistency. So it is learned. Now, there are some things that I found out that would determine one's resilience. So, for example, we have biological determinants. So this may include some physiological, genetic factors, and others that are related to how the body is made. And then we have environmental and epigenetic factors, those that are outside the control of the body. And then we have psychological and neurological and developmental, demographic, cultural, economic, and social factors, moral and spiritual determinants as well. So we will not be able to touch on the other determinants, but we will be focusing primarily on the biological aspect. Determinants may differ depending on the type of the specific challenge. So there could be some more challenging or less challenging circumstances, and it may also depend upon the individual's personality, the age and level of maturity, which more or less these are biological in nature, and the resources that are available. The resources could be talents, skills. This could be physical resources or anything that may be available for the person to use as he is subject to these challenging times. Now, we are going to look further into biological determinants of resilience. So we will check on blood pressure, metabolism, nourishment, cardiorespiratory fitness, musculoskeletal fitness, stress hormones, immune function, and gene expression. Now, let's look into how the person responds at the initial response when he is faced to challenging times. So there are structures and mechanisms that are involved in stress response. And this involves a whole integrated function of the genes, the amygdala, as we know, this is part of the brain, the hippocampus, the limbic system, and other structures. Now, when a threat comes by surprise, there are some of these very important catecholamines that would kick in, that would set the body to go on either flight or fight response. And the emergency response activates the hypothalamus to send neural signals to the adrenal medulla so as to quickly release adrenaline and noradrenaline via the sympathetic arm of the autonomic nervous system, which we will be going through very quickly. So this is a quick response of the body. And why do we have a quick response? Because that's the time that the body needs most, that the body have to act in milliseconds. And this is done through neural pathways by which the adrenal glands, particularly the medulla or the inner part of the adrenal gland, would try to release the stress hormones at the time. So these are emergency hormones. Now, when the threat or the stress factor is cyclically repeated for a longer time, so this one may be chronic stress or chronic exposure to stress factors, the long-term neuroendocrine response activates a slower but more powerful response from the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland than to the adrenal cortex. Now this time it's the adrenal cortex that is activated to produce cortisol and peptides. Now, in this case, if this becomes chronic, you see there are long-term consequences of chronic stress as well. So first is The premise is we don't want this long-term stress to be bugging the body in order for not to have the consequences of this. So let's name a few of these consequences. First is accelerated aging process. So the person basically may suffer from chronic fatigue if he goes through this chronic response to long-term stress. Chronic fatigue is one that would affect our sleep and certain sleep patterns. It could affect the heart, thus the person may develop cardiovascular disorders. He may develop depressed immune response. And here we explain that with the amount of cortisol that is being sent out by the adrenal cortex, the body's level of sugar will be very high. So it takes a lot of sugar from other sources, and thus the sugar in the bloodstream may increase. And that if it increases, this will cause the immune cells to maybe knocked off, and that the immune response would be slower. And it may even dampen or depress the immune system. So if this happens to an individual, this may cause other chronic illnesses to develop. Okay? So even bone disease, even joint diseases, muscle disorders, and so on and so forth, that we don't like, that this long-term stress will ruin the body's response. Now, just to explain to you very quickly on the immediate response, or this is the quick response of the body through the autonomic nervous system. So we know here in this that the autonomic nervous system innervates our smooth muscles, the cardiac muscles, and the glands. So when the autonomic nervous system is the one that is activated, then we know that these muscles and the glands are the ones that are responding. So there would be some adjustments that are made as the autonomic nervous system, particularly the sympathetic nervous system, is activated. So you would see here in this slide, you have the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system as two major divisions of the nervous system in general. So under the peripheral nervous system, we have sensory and motor. Sensory is the afferent division, wherein the body gets the stimulus. It receives the different factors as received by the receptor organs. This would be converted into signals that would go to the brain. So this is our sensory input through the sensory division. Now the response division, which is your motor division or efferent division, we have both the somatic and the autonomic. The somatic nervous system is the voluntary response, wherein the skeletal muscles are the ones that are activated. And then we have the autonomic response. So this is the autonomic division, which is activated in the subconscious level. So we do not know that it is activated at this point because it activates the smooth muscles, the cardiac muscles, and the glands. Now there are two arms of the autonomic nervous system, such as the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So we'll just go quickly on this. So these two arms, the parasympathetic would promote maintenance functions. It is where the body is on its conservation mode. But in the sympathetic nervous system, this is the one that kicks in when the body needs to go on a fight and flight mechanism. So you can see in this, in the parasympathetic nervous system, it may have a different pathway as compared to the sympathetic nervous system, where it concentrates basically on the heart, the stomach, and the other organs of the body, including the glands. All right, so this table would show you the differences between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic responses. So you could see here that in the sympathetic nervous system, when it is activated during emergency situations, there would be dilation of the pupils of the eye, okay, and then it inhibits the muscles of the eye for this, which flattens the lens for far vision. And then for the glands, this the inhibitory activity of some glands may be inhibited. And then you could see that there would be increased heart rate at this point. And the force and the rate of heartbeat increases. Blood vessels would dilate. So there is vasodilation. Now going here, this urinary system, the gland, the lungs, the digestive system is inhibited at that point when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, and so on. So you can see here that upon the activation of the heart, and at this point, the skeletal muscles will receive more blood, and thus the skeletal muscles would allow you to be able to move quickly for fight and flight responses. All right, now I just go back here. That under this situation, the sympathetic nervous system is also controlled by the higher brain centers, such as the cerebral cortex. So the cerebral cortex should tell you that it is not wise to panic, so that when the person who is subjected to this emergency situation is telling himself that it's not wise to panic. I have to be more sober. I have to be calm. So that is the dictate of the cerebral cortex. Then there is now kicking in of the parasympathetic nervous system, so that it will sublime the effect of the sympathetic nervous system. Now, going back to our study on resilience, here there are biological factors, as we said earlier. So this is one of the major things that we have to consider: the biological factors, moral and spiritual factors, sociocultural and emotional and environmental and occupational foundations of resilience. Now we will talk a little bit more on the biological aspect. So I would like to emphasize at this point about health and well-being. When a person is healthy, he becomes more resilient when he is faced to different challenges. So in our fight against COVID-19 pandemic, for example, if a person has a high immune response, then he will not even worry about it, because he has an immune system that is properly functioning. Now, immune system may develop through time as we are exposed to different pathogens, and that the immune system is supported by proper nutrition. So proper nutrition, as we know, should primarily depend on whole foods from plants. So nourishment is so important. Now here, we also consider that when the person is not eating well, then his resilience would be affected. His response to different challenging factors would be affected as well. Now, when a person is also fit in terms of his cardiorespiratory and musculoskeletal fitness, it is easier to run, right? It is easier to do the fight and flight mechanism. So in order to develop that, exercise should be a part of our daily routine. So this is in preparation for resiliency when we are faced with any of these challenging times. Hydration also is very important. A person who is fully hydrated could think better. A person who is fully hydrated could well respond. All right. And then restorative sleep. A person who is able to sleep well should be able to face the realities of life the following morning. And then there are other factors such as exposure to sunlight, early morning sunlight, and maybe late afternoon sunlight would be important to put the body in a way that he is able to receive or to face challenging times better. Now, a person who is regularly exposed to sunlight may have a better outlook in life. As research would suggest that there are people who are not so much exposed to sunlight who have uh, probably they could develop a certain type of depression at the time that they are not exposed to sunlight, especially during winter time, that people may not have a chance to see sunlight, that they may be in a depressed state. So sunlight is one of the things that we consider here under the biological foundation of resilience. Now also trust in divine power, personal devotion to God. These are important foundations in order for us to be able to face the realities of life on a daily basis and also on a prolonged term. But here, this is not just about the biological and moral or spiritual aspects of resilience, but this should involve all the other aspects. It's a totality, it's a total wellness. Now, there are things that I would like to suggest here, or I would like to recommend 10 master keys to build your resilience. First is you must rehearse your life's purpose and goals and act upon them. So if you already have identified your purpose in life, then you have to go back to how you would like to serve others, and you must act upon them. Now, if you haven't found your purpose in life, then it is imperative for you to seek for your purpose in life by looking into who you are, and then look at some opportunities to exercise purpose in life. And then next is to cultivate your innate abilities and potentials and capitalize on your available resources. So this innate abilities and potentials could be just the available resources when you are faced with challenges. Now, there may be some people who may lose their properties due to calamities. Now, what will they do? They have to look into themselves and look into what they can make use of while they already lost some other things. Now, the third is for you to find opportunities to serve your family and others. Now, serving others genuinely is therapeutic. So even if you may feel that you are not capable of doing it, just do things in small ways, just one step of serving at a time. So as you serve, you will serve more and more as you start serving. And research have found out that serving others is actually a source of happiness. And at the same time, this is a way by which you are able to cope and be resilient of facing these challenges. The fourth is for you to nurture yourself and build on hope and optimism in all circumstances. Whatever challenges that may come, you look beyond these circumstances. Have hope that there will be a change. And nurturing yourself may be starting from your biological needs to your social needs to your spiritual needs and so on and so forth. So nurture yourself in your family, nurture yourself together, help each other, and support each other. The fifth one is for you to connect and bond with your family, friends, and significant others. So these two would tie together. As you connect, you bond in love with your family, with your friends. You can even make new friends, and you may find other people outside your family and friends that may help you go through the circumstances. The sixth is for you to anticipate change and adapt to it. So every day is a new challenge, right? Every day should be faced with anticipation that there could be changes coming into view. So you may anticipate that there could be a change, there could be some surprises. And while you have planned, you have prepared yourself, then you should be able to adapt readily to these new changes that surface on a daily basis. And then plan ahead and brace yourself. Planning, preparation would be a way to brace yourself, to prepare yourself when faced with trouble. Numbers 8, 6, 7, 8, yes. Overcome the roadblocks, get tougher and stay calm, but steady. All right? People who are calm are resilient. Those who are able to overcome roadblocks, any hindrances, they become tougher at the next time they face the same realities or related realities. Number 9 is to stand up when you fall and keep growing and moving forward in character and in outlook in life. So grow. Now, maybe an inch of growth on your character and personality would count. Maybe a step, even a very, very small step, it counts. And then number 10 is keep connected to the source of wisdom and inner strength. Build on faith and hope. Now, this actually summarizes everything because here it is for you to be connected to your source of power and strength. And this is a divine strength that is imputed in you as you face the challenges. And lastly, this is my family. And I would like to say here, along here, that you have to pamper your family with love, faith, and hope in God's abundant grace. And this is your best foundation for you to anchor yourself with God and your family. All right, at this point, we may have some questions from the audience.
You can also share on how folks can contact you, some of the other services that you offer. Of course, we'll repeat at the end, but can you just mention a little bit on that?
All right. Yes. Uh, if you would like to contact me, please contact me through my phone number here on the screen. It's 956-340-6812. And my email is salunat, SALUNATWC @gmail.com.
All right.
So basically, I do presentations. I give seminars monthly in two occasions every month. And at the same time, I do health coaching. I do consultations on wellness as well. And my consultations basically focus on how to fight overweight, obesity, how to overcome them, how to overcome diabetes, how to overcome other chronic diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and so on. Um, and so I do give seminars on these lines, and at the same time, I design diet and lifestyle regimen for those who are struggling with their health, especially on these chronic illnesses.
Awesome. That was a very enlightening presentation. For those of you who are on again, start getting your questions. I'm going to interview him. I'm just going to ask a few quick questions for about, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And then if you have any questions, post them in the chat. Post them in the chat right here. By the way, welcome to, is it Amada Yano, all the way from the Philippines. I think
Oh,
that's
yes, yes.
someone that
Yes,
knows
I
you.
know Amada. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
Awesome. Wow, that's good. We have a far,
So we
far
have
away.
audience from the Philippines. And I also invited some friends in Hawaii. I hope
Oh,
they are
wow.
also uh, viewing our or watching our presentation.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for inviting others on here. So again, if you have any questions, just please post them here. So Doc, you mentioned quite a few things there. And I'm
Mhm,
particularly interested in the 10 strategies that you give. One
mhm,
of the things is, again, we have healthcare professionals who are able to help others, who are able to use these strategies to help their patients to grow, to deal with whatever issues they're facing, and of course, recovery. But what can
mhm,
people do, professionals, nurses, nurse practitioners, anyone, myself, I'm also a
mhm.
professional in ministry and other things like that. What can we do to implement this personally, not just simply as a given to others? How can we personalize it, make it up like your coach? So how can we bring it into our lives, like practically, like, or shortcuts? Do you have any shortcuts for us to put these things into practice ourselves?
Yes, yeah, that's actually a very challenging question for me because here I would say that you cannot give if you don't have.
Mm,
You cannot give if you don't have. So if you are not practicing yourself, then it would be very hard to advise others or to give something for others.
mm,
So it takes time to practice. It takes discipline to practice it in your own self. Now, this is one thing that challenges me as well. You see, I give health lectures and I design diet and lifestyle regimen for people, but yet if I employ it to my own family, all right, I hope they are not listening at this point, but this is a reality that we face. That
yes.
while we advise others as professionals, we deal with them professionally, but yet, in our personal lives, our children know us very well. Our spouses know us very well. And so at times they may not listen. But yet, what I do is that while I give seminars to people, I have them log in. they come and join me. For example, if I give a seminar at South Texas College where I currently teach, what I do is I invite them to join.
Okay.
That way, they are educated at the same time. It's not good for me to be to be preaching while we are eating, right? And as much as possible, I wouldn't like to do that, but there
Yeah.
are times that I need to do. So, in order for me to be able to do it in my own home, I hold seminars for the public and for my own children. And at the same time, I have to model. Modeling is a challenge. I have to model to them. If I tell them, okay, you have to eat the fruit salads for breakfast, you have to do this and do that exercise. Let's go out to the backyard and take some deep breath and take some sunshine. So I do it myself and I invite them. At times they may not listen, but they are hearing it. They hear it, and at the time when we are not watching them, they do it.
Yes, yes.
So it's modeling, doing it, practicing it with discipline and with accuracy and consistency as well.
Yes.
Now, yes, the other thing that I pointed out there is consistency, so that they will not say, "Oh, Dad, you did do this, you didn't do that today." So consistency is so important, not only outside but inside. And on a daily basis, if the skill that we are developing should be a skill that you need for life, and it should be on a daily basis.
Well, there's a saying, two sayings actually. One is the prophet doesn't always have honor in his own home. So that's
Yes.
understood. And secondarily, one example is better than 1,000 precepts. And so that's why we are really, I'm trying to hone in on that, because after each presenter goes, I like to personalize it, because, you know, academics
Mhm.
works like that sometimes. It's
Mhm.
theoretical until we bring it into practice to see the principles at work. But that's what people
Yes.
I find are dying, is to see these things in practice, not just be told about them.
Yeah, in fact, there are people who say that the book picture is different from the actual practice.
Yeah.
But but yet, I would say that as a professional in my field, I would say that there should always be a connection, because the book doesn't have to say so if it is not observed from the actual environment. So
Mm,
there should be a link. There should be a link.
right.
At times, people may not be practicing. That's why we would say that the book picture is different from the actual practice.
Gotcha.
So there should always be a direct connection.
Yet at the same time, as you have said, what, because one of the key to bouncing back and resilience is just not giving up. So at the same time, we must all know that we are striving towards the goal. And even though if we
Mhm.
do fall, we don't give up, because some habits, change starts with a decision, but for everyone is different. Change is a process also in itself. So don't give up, even if you're trying to model and you fall short, but keep going, right? Is that fair to
Yes, I
say?
like. Yes, I like the way you recalled from there, because it is a process. Resiliency is a trait. It
Mm,
is a process, and it is also the result of the process.
right.
So that if we go through the process, we have to see to it that we practice. We practice. And as there are changes that come on a daily basis, we practice. We start from where we are, and then do the process again, and we could see the result. And then the following morning, we would face a new challenge. Then we start from there, do the process, and then you see the result. So it's a cyclical pattern, actually, by which if we see ourselves starting again and again, as I said, every move counts, every step counts, every everything that we resolve at the end of facing the circumstances, then we would see ourselves that we are growing and progressing. We are moving forward.
Right on.
Mhm.
Now, you also mentioned, and I'm hearing a lot about this idea of self-care. We get a lot of emails on that about self-care being a big thing. So, elaborate a little bit more on that, because you talk about pampering yourself, and you talk about also with family. Um, how can we, in our busy world, right? We are
Yes,
busy.
yes.
We are always going, but how can we really take the time to do those self-care? And are there any other examples of how we can implement self-care?
Yes. Um, Basically, I would say that start the day right. So
Okay.
it means that if you need to eat nutritious food, nourishing food, just like as you are starting on a journey. So a new day is a new journey. So if you start a journey, if you travel, for example, you have to fill your tank. So you start right. You fill your stomach first. Now, that's a physical feeling, physically nourishing yourself, physically empowering yourself. You see, fuel in the body is necessary, just like the fuel that we have for the car. And so, since we need fuel, we have to physically put in the fuel. Now, also, if am I still on?
Yes, Johan, we see.
All right. Okay. Yes. So, if we look into our physical nourishment, we also have to nourish our inner soul. So for me, for example, the first thing that I do is do my personal meditation. So that's my spiritual and moral nourishment. So at the time when I wake up in the morning, I don't neglect that because I would see it as very big thing for me. So you see to it that you put in the major things before putting in the minor things. So the major thing is my physical nourishment, my moral and spiritual nourishment. Those are the things that I need to pamper myself. And of course, some personal hygiene, other things that I need to do. But you know, before I go to bed, I have to have a good picture in my mind what to do the following morning. So planning is so important as well, that at the time when I wake up in the morning, I should not be groping for things that I would need. So preparation is so important. And that's the way that you pamper yourself as well, because you see, if you will be stressed out at the time when you start in the morning, then most likely the whole day will be very stressful. Because at the time when you are stressed in the morning, your sympathetic nervous system kicks off, kicks in. And so you would be using so much amount of energy already that at the later time of the day, you would end up fatigued. So slow down. When you wake up in the morning, see to it that you are not stressed. You see, at the time when the sympathetic nervous system will be activated, you would have so much of your sugar level to be used up that when you are at the middle of the day, you will feel so tired and fatigued.
Okay. Now, from the healthcare perspective, I'm not sure if you have any ideas there. How is the healthcare system adjusting itself to these new realities. Like, for example, in the last 3 days or so, right, my son was in the hospital even, and
Hmm.
so I see that there seem to be some improvements. Now, you have specialty in genetics and nutrition and those type of things, but
Hmm.
we know that in the past, and I guess still in some places, the food that is necessarily served within the hospital sometimes is even not the best. So are there
Hmm.
any things that are happening there? Because again, you said that's also contributing to resiliency and these other factors. How is the healthcare system, if there's anything on that, adapting or changing, or employing more professionals, maybe dietitians or anything like that? Are they doing these type of things now to come up to speed with the new information and knowledge and realities about good nutrition?
Yes, it's a sad fact to note here that many of our health professionals are sickly themselves. They are not. They are not in their top notch health. So, speaking of some of my clients, many of them are nurses and doctors. They themselves are not in their top notch health that they need some some help. They themselves would need some help. So, for example, a health professional who goes a routine work in the hospital. So he goes there without having breakfast. He would just drink a glass of coffee, and then he goes there, work for a few hours, and then he would feel hungry. Then he would go to the hospital cafeteria and get some food. Now, what are served there in the cafeteria? Of course, there may be some salads, fruit salads there. There may be some green salads, but most often you would see that the preparations are not so healthy. If they go through the drive-through to get some food, it's the same. There are just a few options for good nutrition, and you are not even sure if those that were prepared for you were prepared in a way that would support your health. So, one advice that I would usually give to my clients is for them to learn to prepare simple meals. For example, the fruits. You can buy fruits, fruits from the grocery, and then just wash them, put them together in a uh, in a container that you can bring to work, and that should be a better one. Now, there are some hospitals these days, and even in schools where I'm working, they have more and more options. They have more and more vegan options, if I would say. Although, if we say vegan is not always healthy because there are vegan options that are not healthy. For example, donut that is vegan, it's not even healthy. But I put emphasis on whole foods. So simple preparations could be done at home. So you can
Awesome.
just grab those fruits, those vegetables, just chop them or slice them, put them together. I would say that it is important for you to have a good mix of different fruits, to have a good mix of flavor, and they compensate each other so that it's not going to be boring. But in fact, it could be good for you to chew and to enjoy as you need the proper nutrition.
Okay, awesome. And thanks for that clarification too. I like how you make that distinction about whole food and vegan, because I think even that itself is becoming so, I guess, used out there, that everything is natural, everything is this, but at the same time, they're not always the most healthy. Okay, so what we're going to do is open the floor. If there's anyone who has any questions, feel free to put it here, or any comments that you'd like to add to the conversation. We're about to wrap up here in just a moment. But again, if you have any questions that you want to ask Dr. Tamayo about his presentation or anything, again, he's into health coaching. So any questions, please feel free to drop them now. One of the things we say, Doc, as folks are going, put their questions here. Again, this is a 5-week workshop. This is our 3rd presentation out of 10. So we have 7 more to go. So do remember to join us on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. You can invite someone to be on the presentation. You can share the link with them, as Dr. Tamay even did tonight. And so every one of us can learn. And so, Doc, if in the future you would like to share with any of our audience, anything like that, we are definitely open to having you back for anything, so.
Yeah, it will be my pleasure. And at the same time, I also would like to put a note here that if a person may be faced with these challenges and realities, it would be good to keep a song in your heart. Be cheerful always. You can laugh at the circumstances, or you just be optimistic about it. Keeping a song in your heart.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, folks, anything else? Don't want anyone to miss out on any extra stuff. For those of you who are students, of course, you know what you do with your papers and stuff like that. We shared the handout earlier. I'm going to drop it one more time, by the way. If you want to download Dr. Tamayo's bio with his address is on there as well. Let me see if I can go back to that slide also and bring it up on screen for those who may not be able to see that. His phone number is right on here. Okay, now make sure we call him for good reasons now. 956-340-6812. Again, 956-340-6812. You can get a hold of him for speaking engagement, get a hold of him for coaching, and I guess for some of our students, if you need a little extra help, he probably might be able to help you out, but know that he has a busy schedule as well. Also, salunatwc@gmail.com. You can email him there as well. Salut, salunatwc@gmail.com.
Yes, and I also would like to add Dr. Chance, that they can watch some of my seminars on Facebook. So I have some of my seminars recorded live on Facebook. So they can visit my Facebook account. My name there is Jerry Tamayo on Facebook. But I have one which is especially designated for health seminars. So the name there, the Facebook account is Health Speaks Wellness Seminars. So they can just look for the Facebook account, Health Speaks Wellness Seminars, which is spelled out as health, and then big S is for the speaks, and the health speaks is one word as I put it, and then health seminars is also one word with health as it is, and then big S for seminars.
So health speaks seminars, or health seminars?
Health speaks wellness seminars.
Wellness. Oh, there we go. Makes sense. Okay, I'm typing it in, folks, so you can have it. All right, Raul is saying thank you, Dr. Tamayo, for the insightful information. Okay.
You're welcome, Raul.
And again, want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We thank Amada for all the way from the Philippines for joining us, Pablo from Tennessee, Philip locally. So those of you who are local, we thank you as well. Robert, want to thank Martha for joining us, Melissa, Gonzo, Patty, Whom else is here? Let's see. Marielle, also Donna, for joining us. Thank you all for being on tonight's presentation. Alrighty, Doc. Well, thank you. Let me wrap up here. To give you a reminder, here is the link. If you do want to invite someone, you can go to strategicsecrets.com/weekly webinars. Okay, strategicsecrets.com/weekly webinars. That's where you will be able to find it. Edna Bautista is also here with us. Thank you for joining us, Edna. We appreciate having you on the broadcast this evening. Any last minute words, Doc? I'm trying to close out here. Let me end the slideshow. Voila, there it goes.
Yes, I know that we are so stressed out with the COVID-19 pandemic, but let's have optimism. Let's have hope that this will be over very soon. So let's brace ourselves. Let's cross our fingers that things will go better. So this is just a temporary event. This will clear out, and I know that that our topic for tonight should be helpful to many of us.
Awesome. Okay, Melissa is also saying thank you for the information and the inspiration. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, listen, tonight was an awesome presentation. We learned quite a bit on the science behind not only resiliency, but I like the information of what's going on in our minds and bodies. Remember, your health is really and truly your greatest health that you have. It's an asset to you. So you want to make sure that you take care of your mind and your emotions. We are here every Tuesday doing our part. I mean, every Monday and Thursday doing our part so that you can get the valid information that you need to take your life and your career and everything about you to the next level. And so I hope that you would implement what you've learned. Knowledge is one thing, but wisdom is the application of that knowledge. So wherever you're watching from, know that you can not only get well, but you can stay well also. And so we pray that all of this will soon pass, but encourage somebody that is going through difficult moments, and you yourself make sure that you stay positive and optimistic, because as Doc is also saying, this too shall pass. Good night, everybody. We see you on Monday night again at 7:30 p.m. Central. Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Central. Good night and take care.
Good night.